Um, I see so many leaders that will start strong. They have an idea, they have a vision, they have a mission, they have purpose, they have passion, they have drive, and they get really excited. And everything feels amazing and incredible and just so soul-filling. Um, and they just come charging like a bull out the gate. And then what they don't do is finish strong. Now, something that I will share with you, when I started in with a coach for speaking, and I started watching all the videos online about it, and I started, um, just reading articles and learning about how to be a good speaker. And I will always continue that learning process. That will never stop. There's always room for growth. One of the things that I learned, and you probably already know this, is probably not new to you, is that the start and the finish of your presentation are what people are going to remember. And what's so funny about that is the middle is the meat. Like the middle is the teaching, the middle is the training, the middle is the strategy, the middle is where we feel like we're going to learn the most to implement change, right? The middle is the heart of the talk. So if you begin a presentation or a training or a keynote or whatever it is, um, we're trying to kind of hook people in and get them in with us as we present, right? And so it's often something that is engaging, maybe a little bit surprising or a little interesting or different, to get that hook, to get people to listen. And people will remember that. I did a talk the other day for the Savannah Chamber of Commerce, and not right off the bat, but pretty close to the beginning. I shared a really funny photo, and so many people have talked to me about that picture. And it had context. I tied it into the training, but they remember the picture, right? They remember the picture. Now, in the training, they do remember one or two things. They're going to remember something. It's not like people are not going to completely zone out, but it's not going to be the part of what they remember. In fact, I got several emails from people who attended the chamber event who said, "Hey, can you send me the framework that you had talked about? Can you send me your slides? Can you send me whatever?" Because there's this middle where we just kind of zone out. And then we're taught to finish strong because people will remember the ending. Begin the bookends of whatever you teach, people are going to remember. And what's funny is when we are working on an initiative, when we start a new job, when we're building a business, when we implement a new program, when we start talking about something like marketing, if you're running a business, um, we have to not fizzle out halfway through. Because in that messy middle, in the gray zone out space, we show up as humans and we phase out. We get so tired and so burnt out that we forget why we were doing it, or we just disassociate and detach ourselves from that purpose and that drive that we had at the beginning. So, what was pushing us in the beginning no longer pushes us halfway through the process, right? We get distracted by other things that are coming up because day after day is dumpster fire that we're trying to deal with. And so we can no longer stay anchored with the same drive that we had to begin with. We just get tired and it happens. And we don't finish strong. And I think something that would be really powerful for us to remember is that everything that we do in life, personal or professional, is a marathon, not a sprint. But it's not how we operate. It's not how we operate. We operate with all kinds of excitement in the beginning, and then we get tired. I remember a tour that I did in Savannah, and I won't name what tour company it was with, but I live in Savannah, but I still enjoy doing the tours. And I did this tour in Savannah, and I remember starting the tour, and I was just like, overwhelmed with excitement. I just could not wait to experience the history and all of the things that we were going to get to do on the tour. And if I told you more, you'd be able to tell who they were. And I don't want to, I don't want you to know. It was a fantastic tour. But by the end, I was really hot. I had sweat dripping back down my back. I was hungry. I needed water and a bathroom. And I wasn't listening to the tour guide anymore. I was listening to my stomach growling. I was listening to my bladder. I was listening to the dripping sweat, trying to figure out if it was going to be like pushing through my shirt and if people noticed. Like my whole focus went into something else. And so the last third of the tour, I was not having fun. I did not enjoy that last little bit until we did go into an air conditioned space and I found a bathroom and I got a water out of the vending machine. And it was like, thank you, Jesus. Like, okay, I can survive. I will be okay. Right. Um, and so that made a difference for me. That ending was more memorable than that whole little portion of the tour that I zoned out for. So, what are we doing to keep that momentum going? What are we doing to make sure that we finish strong and that we have the same momentum to finish the marathon without burning out? And most of the leaders that I work with do not have any kind of proper closeout to their week, right? We hear things like, I survived, thank God it's Friday. Like, I didn't know if I was going to make it, right? It's more of a survival approach to the end of the week. So by the time we roll around to 5 o'clock on a Friday, we feel like I did at the end of the tour. We're focusing on our stomachs that are growling at us, our full bladders, and sweat dripping down our back. All we're thinking about is the relief that we can get in the air conditioning, right? Which looks like putting on our pajamas and going to bed and vegging out on Netflix, right? Um, so that is not the way for you to sustainably lead. This is not resilience. This is not adaptation to your environment. This is not finishing strong. And that end is really important. It's going to be the piece that you remember. It's going to be the piece that sets you up for the next beginning. And if we're rolling into the end of our Friday with two wheels on one side, it's not going to serve us very well, right? So instead of finishing your week by answering one more email, trying to put out one more fire, mentally cataloging everything that you have to do on Monday because you didn't finish it this week, what you're really doing is just carrying this load of unfinished tasks and unfinished business, and you're trying to tell your brain we're going to wait until Monday to address this. But you and I know that's not what happens. You are actively lying to yourself. That's not going to be what actually happens. So, what's going to happen is on your weekend, you're thinking about the email. You're kicking yourself for not responding to one more thing. You're checking to see if your boss read the text that you sent them. You're checking in with the client because you're worried that they're mad. Whatever the situation is, you're lying to yourself. You're actively lying to yourself that you are going to put those things on the table on a Friday and not pick them up until Monday. I don't like lying. I don't like being surrounded by liars. I work hard to keep my life free of people who lie to me and to themselves. And living into my integrity means that I do my best to not lie to myself as well. And sometimes that's exposing. And sometimes I don't like myself for it because I have to admit that it's been a lie. But I'm going to tell you, if you've been living like this, you have actively been lying to yourself. And it's time for you maybe not to do that. Because when Monday rolls around, you're already behind. This is why you get the Sunday scaries. This is why we dread the start of the week. It shouldn't feel like that to you, especially because the story you're probably telling yourself is that you didn't work hard enough. And in truth, you worked too much. You just didn't end the week strong. You didn't finish strong because that week blended into the weekend, which blends into the next week. And then what time did you even have off? Right? So let's talk about the strategy of intentional closure to your work week as a leader. And this is very much a performance strategy. This is very much developing your resilience and your sustainability as a leader. So our research, not my research, the research out in the world on cognitive recovery actually shows that if you have a transition ritual at the end of your week period, it's one of the most reliable predictors for your continued performance. And so you can have a ritual to close out every day and the week, or even at minimum the week itself. And that's what I do. I don't take client calls on Fridays. There are always some exceptions that are going to happen. I break that rule sometimes when my clients need me to. Of course, I'm going to serve them well. But Fridays are my CEO day because I need to pay attention to my business. I need to make sure that nothing fell through the cracks for the week, which something always fell through the cracks. And then I need to make sure that I am rounding out my business week so I can go into the weekend clear-headed, ready to focus on myself, my family, my hobbies, and whatever. And then I'm not worried about starting on Monday, right? So that cognitive recovery, that ritual to transition from the end of the day or the end of the work week is one of the most reliable predictors of your performance on the next work day. So it doesn't have to be long. You don't have to do an 8-hour transition ritual for the end of your work week. It's just, 10, 15, 20 minutes. You're going to feel sharper. You're going to make better decisions. This is all research based. And you're going to sustain higher performance over time. And that's the whole point. That's the whole point. Um, so here's the practice. Here's what that looks like in implementation. Three things, 5 minutes at the end of every week. What did you actually accomplish? Okay, name what actually got done. And here's so you probably have a to-do list, right? You probably have a list of tasks that you were going to get done. I want you to actually name everything you got done. I have a private client who for years has sent me an email every freaking day of everything she did in that day. Not everything that was on the list, everything she actually did. And over time, I noticed her giving herself credit for the things that normally she wouldn't have given herself credit for because she was able to see what was actually getting done, how long the laundry took, how long it took to grocery shop, the fact that she did Instacart this time, but then the Instacart person like messed up the order and she had to go back and forth with them and that took an extra 30 minutes of her time. Once she was able to actually see the things she did, holy crap, her whole mindset shifted into I am not productive. I'm getting so much stuff done. It actually gave her permission to take more breaks because she saw the load she was carrying, right? So name not the list, name real things that you actually did. Then I want you to do what's carrying over and where it lives. And so that may be like, okay, it didn't finish this task. So where is that going to go? That's going to go on my Tuesday at noon. Here's what's great about that. Now you don't have to worry about it. It's not this like thread that's fraying at the end. You got your lighter out and you burn the end of it and you neatened it up. So now on Saturday, you're not thinking about it. Sunday, you're not thinking about it. And you're not starting your Monday going, what was that thing that I needed to wrap up, that I needed to finish? You've already given it a home in your week next week. So now your brain can actually let it go. It's been resolved. Okay. So this is not a to-do list. This is a reallocation of priorities. This is a reassessment for your prioritization for the next week, right? And then one thing that you're going to take into the next week with intention. So it's a decision on how you want to show up. So this week I felt frayed. So next week I'm going to show up with the intention of not feeling frayed. And what can I do to change that, right? And part of that is your ending the week strong ritual, right? But how do you want to show up next week? Who do you want to be? Like who we talked earlier this week about like when you show up in a room, who you want to be and letting that be who you actually are. So think about how you're going to be showing up into the week, the next week, and then you're done. This should not take you more than 15 minutes. Finish that week strong. It will change the quality of your entire weekend. It will change how you show up on Monday. You will not be showing up frazzled and tired and exhausted. You will show up clear and with purpose and intention and with a plan. And God, if we don't love a plan. All right, so those are my marching orders for you today. It is 9 o'clock on a Friday morning, if you are watching this live. So you still have time to do this ritual to close your week strong. I love this. Now, if part of you closing this week strong is you joining the nest, You have until tonight to do that. Have a conversation with me, talk to me, let me know, or go to amycapello.com/nest, fill out the application. You can email me at info@amycapello.com, and I will happily set up a quick little 10-minute call with you today to flesh out any questions that you have or any information that you need to decide whether or not this is the right thing for you. And I hope you have a fabulous weekend. I am so excited about this. This actually